Greetings and salutations, everyone. I hope everyone is doing well today. Today I have some terrifying Dogman encounters that I'd love to share with you. Before we get into these encounters, a couple links that I'm going to share with you. As you know, I rely on my Patreon, my PayPal, and my merch store to help the channel to continue to grow and go. Those links are in the description below. Also, Dogman Frightening Encounters, Volume 1, 2, and 3, the audiobook version, written by Tom Lyons, narrated and produced by me, Jeffrey Nadolny. They're available on Audible, Amazon, and iTunes, and the links to those are in the description as well. Now, I've taken enough of your time. Let's get on with today's upload, shall we? Today's first part of the upload. I used to play in an old phone booth at my aunt and uncle's house. This is definitely where the encounters started, although I can't say how, as I have no memory of what I did while inside the phone booth. It was an old wooden thing, like you'd find at the back of a bar or something. I later found out it was from an old Chicago train station that had gotten torn down. So the first encounter I recall was in 1985 or 1986. I was 7 or 8. It was summertime, late in the day, so around dusk. Not full daylight, but not dark out yet. I was in the front yard playing catch with my cousin, and a ball went past me and down the side of the house into the back. The yard was surrounded by a chain-link fence that separated the yard from an old overgrown alley that was used as a road at one point. When I went to retrieve the ball, I noticed some rustling in the brush. I'm thinking it was a cat or a squirrel or something. As I got closer, I noticed something was moving very close to the fence. I thought at first it was a man. It was as big as a man, but covered in brownish hair. From what I could see, its head was canine, snout, ears, etc., but it had human-like hands. I couldn't really see the lower half of its body due to the weeds and grass. It appeared to be injured in some way, the way it was moving. It was using the fence to drag its way down the alley, hand over hand, just pulling itself. I stood and watched for what seemed like a long time, but in reality was probably only a minute or two before running back to my cousin. I told him that I had seen a monster in the alley. We excitedly talked about it before getting up the courage to head back and take a look. By the time we got back out there, it was gone, leaving no trace other than the smashed-down grass. I didn't think about it again for a long time. Fast forward to sophomore year in high school, so 1994, I'm 16. I get home and head to my bedroom to take a nap. I was meeting some friends back at school later to see a football game or something like that. So I wake up and it's dark in my room. The only light is coming from the hallway because my door is open several inches. As my eyes adjust, I realize I'm not alone. There are 4 to 5 of these creatures in my room watching me. They're all 6 feet taller, covered in dark hair with canine facial features, just watching. They don't move toward me. They don't communicate, nothing. I think to myself I must be dreaming. I lie there for a bit, squeezing my eyes closed, and when I reopen them, the creatures are gone. I convince myself it was a dream and go about my night. Next time it happens is 2005. I'm 27. Sometimes at work, some friends would meet up at a local restaurant for drinks and food. I didn't work that night, so my boyfriend and I headed up to meet them. Nothing out of the ordinary had happened. On the way home, my boyfriend is chatting about the day and what we were going to do for the weekend. I noticed something ahead in the road, so I slow down slightly. I'm thinking it may be a bag or some garbage or something, but as we get closer, I notice it looks more like an animal. At this point, we're both silent, and I am almost at a complete stop. The creature stands up on its hind legs, and I now see that it's humanoid with canine features. It slowly turns its head towards us, and then kind of just drifts away. It didn't run. It was just no longer there. Hard to explain. I made sure I asked my boyfriend to tell me exactly what he saw before I told him what I saw. I wanted to make sure we had seen the same thing. He described to me exactly what I saw. That was the last major encounter I had. Back to the phone booth. I always felt that phone booth was connected somehow. So I asked my mom. I asked her to tell me what I had said after coming out, what I was doing. She said I would go inside and play around like kids do. It was safe, and they could keep an eye on me easily. I asked her to try to remember anything that might help me to tie it all together. After speaking to my aunt, she said they remembered. I would come out and tell them that I had gone to visit the puppy people, while helping to tie things together. It really only served to raise more questions. Where did I go when I got into that phone booth? Today's second part of the upload. Hey guys, I'm trying to find out what I saw while hiking in one of my local national forests. About a month ago, I was hiking off trail during the day, enjoying the spring weather, listening to the wind blow through the leaves, birds chirping, squirrels running across the bark, jumping from limb to limb. As I ventured deeper into the forest, off trail, of course, everything seemed to stop. Complete silence, no more birds, no more squirrels. I know silence in the wood is no good, so I start to examine my surroundings. As I do this, I get the feeling that I am being watched, and I get goosebumps from head to toe. Then I see it. I wish I could say more of it, but I knew no name for what I saw. It was about 50 yards out on a ridge staring at me. It was humanoid, but its fur was a light gray, long arms with claw-like hands, and the size, it had to be at least 8 feet tall. It stood staring at me. I was frozen in fear. Finally, after a few moments, without taking my eye off the creature, I drew my pistol. Never hike alone without one. And I fired into the air. When I did this, it retreated at a speed I had never seen any living creature move. I sat there for a good 30 minutes, pistol in hand, listening, scanning the environment. Finally, the birds started to chirp again, and the squirrels were back out. Everything seemed normal. I left and never looked back. A part of me wanted to go back to the ridge and see if there were any tracks, but I felt that it went in that direction. I would have never returned. Never again will I go hiking in that forest. Just driving through it gives me an evil feeling, like the monster knows I'm there and it's watching me. Does anyone possibly know what I could have seen? Thanks for the advice. Today's third part of the upload is an encounter from my neck of the woods. I love these. I was hiking in Adirondack Park in New York State with my wife recently during the fall of 2020. This state forest is 6 million acre wilderness, which is bigger than Yellowstone, Yosemite Glacier, and Grand Canyon National Parks combined. 57% is privately owned and 43% is government owned. But much of the private property is small cabins, trailer park homes, and small houses surrounded by generous wilderness. We were the only human beings at the trailhead in a fairly remote region of the park. We hiked just before dusk that evening. We also noticed how the forest where we had hiked through was almost completely silent during our entire trip, save the experience below. As I climbed a small hill, I noticed what sounded like a small army of squirrels rummaging around the forest floor. Something seemed to be kicking up leaves and other debris, but I began to hear heavy footsteps and light, distinct, powerful-sounding grunts as it got closer. I could feel it was a big animal, but had no idea as its type. When I reached the top of the hill, I did not see anything. No large animal, no small animal, nothing. An opening of a good 30 meters extended from one side of the trail, and I could see about 200 yards into the distance. On the other side of the trail, I proceeded slowly. The forest floor actively seemed to make its way high into the canopy. Again, it sounded like a small army of squirrels collecting acorns, jumping from branch to branch, and causing mild mayhem up there. I could see none of the activity as the forest canopy grows incredibly thick, about 40 meters up. Everything felt odd. I felt like someone was there but could not see them. It was like someone sitting in the next room and not seeing them with your eyes but sensing their presence. You feel that they are there and know they are there. My wife trailed me about 15 feet. She stopped and felt that same presence, but like me saw nothing with her eyes. We then heard a loud, clear grunt that sounded similar to a large male gorilla. The sound appeared to be a casual exhale. Nothing about it felt threatening or intimidating. My wife asked if I had heard it. I verified. I double-checked with her to explain it. She noted that it sounded like a big gorilla grunting. We both still saw nothing, even though the grunting sounded like it was no more than 10 to 15 feet away. The racket increased in the canopy. A foot-long piece of bark flew out of the trees and landed about 2 feet from my wife. Note that we have never felt scared, threatened, intimidated, or even alarmed during this encounter. The Sasquatch or Sasquatch family gave off a chill vibe. I can't put it into words. It almost felt a little playful, like we were being pranked. You'd have to have been there to feel the experience as we did. My wife and I also circled the globe for decades, hiking in tropical forests on the steeps of Central Asia and the deserts of the Middle East. We spent nearly 2 months in an off-the-grid location deep in the jungles of Costa Rica, living in a hut with an outhouse, no running water, and a bevy of venomous snakes, poison dart frogs, and bullet ants all around. We are hardly fearless, but don't scare easily, as we've had plenty of uncomfortable experiences during the past decade to clear much of our negative mental baggage. So as we relax and observe, a series of tree knocks begins just behind the wood line to our left, about 30 yards, loud and clear. You absolutely could not mistake these knocks for anything else. Imagine the sound of a jacked-up dude slamming a stout pine tree with a baseball bat. The knocks even changed cadence a few times. This went on for about 5 minutes, right in front of us. But the forest was too thick to see anything. My wife and I just stared at each other as our minds seemed to be catching up to what our ears could hear but our eyes could not see. I gave in to my urge to record the knocks against my better judgment, and the split second I pulled out my phone, the knocks stopped. I put my phone in my pocket, and the knocks started up again, about every 10 seconds. Even all the activity stopped, and we made our way out of the park. We didn't see a soul at the trailhead, nor did anyone visit the trail after we arrived. A few notes: my wife and I heard the wood knocks in the same park about 2 weeks prior, but from the distance of a mile or so, as the knocks were quite faint. I also noted possible structures in a few other parks in the southern Adirondacks, along with a young 7-inch diameter sapling being ripped out of the ground and twisted violently at the base. An individual nearby, same town of approximately 500 people spread out among the mountain wilderness, had running interactions with the Sasquatch for over a series of years. I was open-minded to cloaking and dimension hopping, but was not quite sure if Sasquatch should do it either. Hearing what sounded like a 500-pound silverback gorilla grunting within 10 feet away from you without seeing a darn thing quickly convinced us otherwise, let alone the bizarre behavior in the canopy. Today's fourth part of the upload. An ungodly-looking creature created havoc among the local God-fearing Amish community. Witnesses describe the creature as a foundling, the size of a good heifer, gray in color with a white mane. It had tiger-like fangs with curved horns like a billy goat. It ran upright on long legs and had a long, grisly claws. In one incident, the creature sent a team of horses and 2 brothers flying when it approached the hay wagon. The following day, a man was cutting weeds on his farm about 5 miles from the previous incident when he heard a fierce roar and turned to see a monster with 3 horns and a tail charging in his direction. He raised his sickle to defend himself, only to have the implement ripped from his hands. At that point, the man wisely decided to turn both cheeks to the monster and escape as fast as he could run. A day later, a woman was feeding poultry on the farm, midway between the 2 earlier incidences, when she heard a commotion and turned to see the creature in the act of snatching a goose in each of its arms. She bravely ran toward the thing, waving her apron. The woman managed to recover one of the geese when the creature threw it at her, knocking her to the ground in the process. The interloper then escaped with the remaining bird in hand. Today's final encounter. I don't even know how to explain this, but I'm not the sort to believe in ghosts, devils, demons, and cryptids, but this has changed my mind drastically. I live in the United Kingdom, and I live in the countryside. I live on a moderately busy lane and have loads of fields behind my home. 5 minutes up the road, there's a hill. It's called Coal Peak, changed for privacy reasons, in Gloucestershire. It's about 6 fields away from my house and a 5-minute walk from the road. Myself and 2 mates go to the peak that overlooks our town, and you can see the Severn Bridge and a place called Stone House. They smoke weed, but I don't, so I can't blame it on the weed. We sat at the top for a good hour chilling. We decided to go home. It was around 2 in the morning. They walked the roadway as it leads to town, where they live, and I decided to walk the field way, as I didn't want to walk down the road on my own after my mates turned off. So to get to the fields, you have to walk through a little forest for around 1 to 2 minutes. It was pitch black, moon shining bright, stars in the sky. As I said before, I don't get scared, so I wasn't really bothered. I got around 2/3 through the forest when I started hearing sticks cracking to my left, as if someone was walking heavily. I just glanced over and presumed it to be a fox or a badger. I get toward the gate and open it. It leads into the fields that led to my house. I close the gate and start walking, and that's when I heard something I will never forget. It sounded like the Minecraft creeper, but a lot more deeper sounding and bigger. I turned around on the path and I could see this thing, around 6 feet tall and skinny. Head shaped like a dog that had horns. I thought my eyes were playing tricks on me, so I just stood there watching it, hoping it would vanish. Well, to my surprise, after 5 seconds, it started to walk slowly closer and closer until it got to the gate. It was like it didn't know what to expect, just standing there. I was sweating. I had red vision, and I thought I was going to have an anxiety attack. I slowly walked across the field, trying to figure out what the hell it was. I looked back halfway across the field, and it was gone. Sigh of relief. I could finally calm down and just take a nice walk home. Well, that's what I was hoping for. I was in the last field from my house. House was in view. I knew all I had to do was jump over my fence, and I was in my garden. I got to the fence, hopped over. I felt safe and secure. I was walking across my garden to get to the back door, and behind me my drive light came on. Now this light only comes on if it detects motion, or it's really windy and a branch sways in front of it. It was not windy, nor did I walk past it. All of a sudden, I had this fear of getting snatched, so I quickly ran to the back door and opened it, and ran to my attic converted bedroom. My skylight window looks up over my drive where the light came on, and I stood on my bed and looked out the window. That's when I saw this werewolf-looking thing standing there sniffing around the cars. It wasn't a dog. It was not small enough to be a badger or a fox. It was not a cow or anything like that. I got into bed and just watched movies till the sun came up and slept then. Ever since then, I never look out my window at night and never walk through those fields. Alright guys, well that's today's upload. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm wondering about the description the last encounter gave. He said it had horns, but I'm thinking that as the typical Dogman that we hear encounters and sightings, they have very large ears. So I'm thinking possibly what this guy saw was this Dogman with very long ears. Hopefully that was it, and we don't have some sort of mutated Dogman running around with long horns, because that would be absolutely frightening, and we would have another type of cryptid to deal with. Anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this, and I may do the last early encounters in the news tonight. I'm not really sure. I might do it tomorrow just to save it, keep it kind of going. I kind of liked them. Actually, I really liked them, even though a lot of you guys didn't. But, oh well, I did. That's all that matters. No, I'm just kidding. You guys matter too, a lot. Because you guys are the channel, not me. I just have the channel. You guys really make it what it is. And a lot of the time, when I get tired or I feel like absolute death, I don't want to record, and I end up recording because it puts me closer to you guys. I've got a lot of new subscribers, and a lot of you guys may not know, but I was diagnosed with a terminal illness, a rare blood disorder that I've been fighting for the last 6 years. And this channel has helped me greatly. I have a large Dogman community family now, and it kind of keeps my brain off of things. So thanks for always being there. And with that, I'm going to bid you all farewell and have a great day.